A night that changed everything. The evening air carried a gentle coolness as Sarah Martinez walked slowly down 5th Street, her worn sneakers making soft sounds against the sidewalk. The street lamps cast warm pools of light along her path, and she could hear the distant hum of the city settling into its nighttime rhythm. Her nurse's uniform felt heavy against her tired shoulders after another long shift at St. Mary's Hospital. Sarah paused at the corner, checking her phone for what felt like the 100th time. 3 missed calls from her best friend Jessica, and a text message that made her stomach flutter with nervous energy. "Sarah, please, I'm begging you. I can't make it to the date tonight. Food poisoning from lunch. Can you go instead? He's expecting someone at 8 o'clock at the garden terrace. Just tell him you're my friend. Please, I can't leave him waiting alone." The message had arrived 2 hours ago, right as Sarah was finishing her rounds in the pediatric ward. She had stared at the phone, reading the words over and over again. Jessica had been talking about this blind date for weeks. A setup through a mutual friend, someone successful, kind, and apparently quite handsome. But Sarah had never imagined she would be the one sitting across from this mysterious stranger. Now standing in front of the Garden Terrace restaurant, Sarah felt her heart beating faster than usual. Through the large windows, she could see the warm glow of candlelight and string lights, creating an atmosphere that felt both elegant and welcoming. People sat at small tables, talking quietly, their faces illuminated by the soft lighting. Sarah looked down at her simple outfit. She had rushed home after receiving Jessica's text, quickly changing from her scrubs into a soft gray cardigan and her favorite blue dress. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean and comfortable. She had pulled her long brown hair back into a neat ponytail and applied just a touch of lip gloss. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would draw too much attention. The truth was, Sarah hadn't been on a real date in over 2 years. Her life revolved around her work at the hospital, caring for children who needed her gentle touch and reassuring words. She found deep satisfaction in her job, but it left little time for personal relationships. Most evenings she returned to her small apartment, made a simple dinner, and spent time reading or watching old movies. It was a quiet life, but it was hers. As she approached the restaurant's entrance, Sarah felt a wave of uncertainty wash over her. What was she doing here? She didn't know anything about this man except that Jessica thought they might like each other. What if he was expecting someone completely different? What if she disappointed him? What if she made a fool of herself? The restaurant's door opened with a soft chime, and Sarah stepped inside. The warmth enveloped her immediately. The scent of fresh flowers and something delicious cooking in the kitchen filled the air. A hostess with a kind smile approached her. "Good evening. Do you have a reservation?" Sarah's voice came out softer than she intended. "I'm meeting someone. The reservation might be under." She paused, realizing she didn't know his name. Jessica had never mentioned it, always referring to him as the guy from the office connection. The hostess seemed to understand. "Are you perhaps meeting the gentleman at table 12? He mentioned he was expecting someone at 8. Sarah nodded, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. "Yes, that's probably right. Right this way, please." As they walked through the restaurant, Sarah's eyes took in the beautiful details. Small white lights were strung along the ceiling, creating the impression of stars. Each table had a small bouquet of white flowers and a single candle that flickered gently. The atmosphere was romantic without being overwhelming, intimate without feeling too formal. And then she saw him. He was sitting at a corner table, partially hidden by flowing white curtains that gave the space a sense of privacy. The man was looking down at his phone, and Sarah had a moment to observe him before he noticed her approach. He wore a well-tailored navy blue suit that suggested success and attention to detail. His dark hair was neatly styled, and even from a distance, she could see that he had strong, kind features. When he looked up and their eyes met, Sarah felt something unexpected happen. A moment of recognition, even though they had never met before. His expression shifted from polite expectation to something warmer, more genuine. A smile spread across his face, and he stood up as she approached the table. "Hello," he said, his voice deep and welcoming. "You must be Jessica's friend." Sarah felt her nervousness begin to settle slightly. There was something about his manner that put her at ease. "Yes, I'm Sarah. Sarah Martinez. Jessica couldn't make it tonight. She's not feeling well, and she asked if I could come instead. I hope that's okay." He extended his hand, and when she shook it, his grip was warm and steady. "I'm Michael Thompson, and I'm very glad to meet you, Sarah." The hostess helped Sarah into a seat, and Michael waited until she was comfortable before sitting down again. The table was perfectly positioned to give them privacy, while still allowing them to see the twinkling lights of the city through the large windows. "I have to admit," Sarah said, reaching for a water glass to have something to do with her hands, "I don't usually do things like this. Blind dates, I mean. Or any dates really, lately." Michael smiled, and Sarah noticed the way his eyes crinkled slightly at the corners. "To be honest, neither do I. This is actually my first attempt at dating in quite a while." There was something in his tone that made Sarah look at him more carefully. She had spent years working with people in various stages of stress, sadness, and healing. It had taught her to listen not just to words, but to the emotions underneath them. There was a story in Michael's voice, something that spoke of loneliness, perhaps, or loss. "What made you decide to try?" she asked gently. Michael was quiet for a moment, considering his words. A server approached to offer them minutes and take their drink orders. Sarah asked for tea, something warm and soothing. Michael ordered coffee black. When they were alone again, he answered her question. "I have a 6-year-old daughter named Emma. She's been asking me why I don't have someone special in my life. Children have a way of cutting straight to the heart of things, don't they? Sarah felt her expression soften. Yes, they do. I work with children at the hospital. They're incredibly honest about what they see and feel. You're a nurse, pediatric nurse at St. Mary's. I've been there for 5 years now. Michael's face brightened with genuine interest. That must be incredibly rewarding work, and incredibly challenging. Sarah nodded, feeling more comfortable as the conversation found its natural rhythm. It is both of those things. Every day is different. Some days are heartbreaking, but others. She paused, searching for the right words. Others remind you why healing and caring for people matters so much. Their drinks arrived, and Sarah wrapped her hands around the warm cup, feeling the heat seep into her palms. The tea was chamomile with honey, exactly what she needed to calm her nerves. Tell me about Emma, Sarah said. What's she like? Michael's entire demeanor changed when he talked about his daughter. The polite formality melted away, replaced by obvious love and pride. She's remarkable, smart, funny, incredibly kind. She loves to read, just like her dad. She's constantly asking questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? How do birds know where to fly? What makes flowers grow? Sarah found herself smiling as she listened. She sounds wonderful. It must be amazing to see the world through her eyes. It is. She keeps me grounded, reminds me what's truly important. Michael paused, then continued more quietly. Her mother passed away 3 years ago, cancer. It's been just Emma and me since then. Sarah felt her heart constrict with sympathy. I'm so sorry for your loss. That must have been incredibly difficult for both of you. Michael nodded, his eyes distant for a moment. It was the hardest thing we've ever been through. But Emma is so resilient, stronger than I am in many ways. She's the reason I get up every morning, the reason I keep moving forward. Sarah understood now why Michael had seemed a bit guarded initially, why there had been that hint of sadness in his voice. He was a man who had loved deeply and lost deeply, trying to find his way back to connection while protecting his heart and his daughters. What kind of work do you do? Sarah asked, wanting to give him a chance to shift the conversation if he needed to. I run a technology company. We develop software for hospitals, actually. Systems that help medical professionals track patient care, manage resources, that sort of thing. Sarah's eyes widened with interest. Really? We use several different systems at St. Mary's. It's fascinating how technology can improve patient care when it's designed thoughtfully. That's exactly what we try to do. My team spends a lot of time in hospitals, talking to nurses and doctors, understanding what would actually make their jobs easier and help them provide better care. They spent the next hour talking about their work, discovering unexpected connections between his technology and her hands-on care. Sarah found herself relaxing completely, drawn in by Michael's intelligence and genuine interest in making a positive impact through his business. When their food arrived, a delicate pasta dish for Sarah and grilled salmon for Michael, the conversation flowed naturally to other topics. They talked about books they loved, places they wanted to travel, small moments of daily life that brought them joy. I have a confession, Michael said as they finished their meal. When I agreed to this blind date, I almost cancelled 3 times. Sarah laughed softly. Only 3 times. I almost cancelled 5 times and I only found out about it 2 hours ago. What stopped you from cancelling? Sarah considered the question seriously. Jessica is my best friend and she was really sick. I couldn't let someone sit here alone, waiting, and she hesitated, then decided to be honest. I think part of me was curious. It's been a long time since I've done something that felt like a small adventure. Michael reached across the table and gently touched her hand. The gesture was brief, but it sent warmth up her arm. I'm very glad you came. Sarah, this has been one of the nicest evenings I've had in a long time. Sarah felt heat rise to her cheeks, but she didn't pull her hand away. I'm glad I came too. They sat in comfortable silence for a few moments, the string lights twinkling above them, the soft murmur of other conversations creating a peaceful backdrop. Sarah realized that somewhere during the evening, her nervousness had completely disappeared. She felt genuinely comfortable with this man, as if they had known each other much longer than a few hours. Can I ask you something? Michael said eventually. Of course. Jessica mentioned that her friend was wonderful, but she didn't really describe you. I was expecting, well, I don't know what I was expecting, but you're not what I imagined. Sarah felt a flutter of uncertainty. Is that good or bad? Michael's smile was warm and genuine. It's very good. You're kind in a way that seems completely natural. You listen like you really hear what people are saying, and you have this calm presence that makes everything feel more peaceful. Sarah didn't know how to respond to such a sincere compliment. She had always thought of herself as fairly ordinary. Someone who worked hard, cared about others, and tried to be helpful. She had never thought of these qualities as particularly special. Thank you, she said quietly. That means a lot to me. The server appeared to clear their plates and offer dessert. They decided to share a piece of chocolate cake, which arrived with 2 forks and a small candle in the center. Make a wish, Michael said, gesturing to the candle. Sarah closed her eyes and thought for a moment. When she opened them and blew out the candle, Michael was watching her with an expression of gentle curiosity. What did you wish for? He asked. Sarah smiled mysteriously. If I tell you, it won't come true. As they shared the dessert, their conversation turned to hopes and dreams for the future. Michael talked about wanting to expand his business to help more hospitals, and about his desire to be the best father he could be to Emma. Sarah shared her dream of perhaps someday working in pediatric research, finding ways to improve treatment and care for sick children. You should meet Emma, Michael said suddenly. then looked surprised by his own words. I mean, if you'd like to. She would enjoy talking with you about your work with children. Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. Meeting his daughter would be a significant step, she knew that. It meant he was thinking of this as more than just a single evening. It meant he was considering letting her into the most important part of his life. I would love to meet Emma, she said softly, but only if you think it's the right time, and if she's comfortable with the idea. Michael nodded, his expression serious. I don't introduce her to people unless I think they might become important in our lives. I've been very careful about that. The weight of his words settled between them. Sarah understood that this was Michael's way of saying that he wanted to see her again, that he felt something special developing between them just as she did. I understand, Sarah said. And I appreciate how thoughtful you are about protecting her. When it came time to leave, Michael insisted on paying the bill despite Sarah's offers to split it. As they walked out of the restaurant together, Sarah noticed that the night air had grown cooler. Without being asked, Michael offered her his suit jacket. Thank you, Sarah said, pulling the jacket around her shoulders. It smelled faintly of his cologne and carried the warmth of his body. The gesture felt both protective and intimate. They walked slowly toward Sarah's car, neither of them seeming eager to end the evening. The street was quiet now, with only a few people strolling along the sidewalks. The city lights created a soft glow against the dark sky. Sarah, Michael said as they reached her car, I know this might sound forward, but would you like to have dinner again, maybe this weekend? Sarah's heart fluttered with happiness. Yes, I would like that very much. And if things continue to go well between us, maybe the following weekend you could meet Emma. We could go to the zoo or the children's museum. Something fun and relaxed. Sarah smiled, touched by how carefully he was planning to introduce her to his daughter. That sounds perfect. Michael helped her into her car, then leaned down to the open window. Drive safely, Sarah. Text me when you get home so I know you made it okay. I will. As Sarah drove through the quiet streets toward her apartment, she found herself replaying moments from the evening. The way Michael's face had lit up when he talked about Emma. The gentle way he had touched her hand. The sincere interest he had shown in her work and her thoughts. She had gone to the restaurant expecting to help out a friend and get through an awkward evening. Instead, she had discovered something she hadn't even realized she was looking for. A connection with someone who understood the importance of caring for others. A man who was both strong and gentle, successful yet humble, confident but not arrogant. When she reached her apartment, Sarah sent Michael a text letting him know she had arrived safely. His response came quickly. Thank you for a wonderful evening. Sweet dreams, Sarah. As she got ready for bed, Sarah caught sight of herself in the bathroom mirror. Her cheeks were still flushed with happiness, and there was a brightness in her eyes that had been missing for a long time. She realized that Jessica's food poisoning, as unfortunate as it was for her friend, had led to something beautiful. The next few days at the hospital seemed to pass more quickly than usual. Sarah found herself thinking about Michael during quiet moments between patients. She wondered what he was doing, how his day was going, whether Emma had asked him about the date. When Saturday evening arrived, Sarah took extra care getting ready for their second date. She chose a soft blue dress that brought out her eyes, and let her hair fall in gentle waves around her shoulders. This time, she felt confident rather than nervous. Michael picked her up at her apartment, and when she opened the door, his smile was immediate and warm. You look beautiful, Sarah. Thank you. You look pretty wonderful yourself. They went to a small Italian restaurant that Michael had chosen specifically because it was quiet enough for easy conversation. Over dinner they talked about their weeks, sharing small stories and observations. Sarah told him about a young patient who had taught her a new card game. Michael shared Emma's latest questions about the world. She asked me yesterday if I was happy. Michael said as they finished their pasta. I realized I didn't know how to answer her. I've been focused on making sure she's happy and healthy and safe. I hadn't really considered my own happiness in a long time. Sarah reached across the table and took his hand. What did you tell her? I told her that spending time with a new friend this week had reminded me what happiness feels like. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes at the simple honesty of his words. I know exactly what you mean. This week felt different for me too. Brighter somehow. When the following weekend arrived, Sarah found herself both excited and nervous about meeting Emma. She had chosen her outfit carefully. Jeans and a soft sweater that would be comfortable for zoo walking but still looked nice. She had also bought a small gift, a book about a brave young girl who becomes a veterinarian and helps animals. Michael picked her up early on Saturday morning, and during the drive to the zoo, he told her more about Emma's personality. She might be shy at first, but once she warms up to you, she'll probably talk your ear off. She's been very curious about you all week. What have you told her about me? That you're kind and smart, and that you take care of children at the hospital. She's been asking if that means you know how to fix scraped knees, and if you've ever met any real princesses in the pediatric ward. Sarah laughed. I do know how to fix scraped knees, but I'll have to disappoint her on the princess question. Though I have met some pretty remarkable kids who are definitely brave enough to be royalty. When they arrived at the zoo, Emma was waiting by the entrance with Michael's sister Kate, who had been watching her for the morning. Sarah's first sight of Emma took her breath away. The little girl was a perfect blend of her father's features and what must have been her mother's delicate beauty. She had Michael's dark eyes but softer features, and her hair was pulled back in two neat braids tied with blue ribbons. Emma, sweetheart, I'd like you to meet my friend Sarah, Michael said, kneeling down to his daughter's level. Emma stepped forward with the careful politeness of a well-mannered child. Hello, Miss Sarah. Daddy said you help sick kids feel better. Hello, Emma. Yes, I do work at a hospital, but I think the kids I meet help me feel better too. They teach me new things every day. Emma's eyes brightened with interest. What kind of things do they teach you? Sarah knelt down so she was at Emma's eye level. Well, last week a little boy taught me how to make the perfect paper airplane. And a little girl showed me how to braid friendship bracelets. Would you like to see? Sarah rolled up her sleeve to show a colorful braided bracelet around her wrist. Emma's shyness began to melt away as she examined the bracelet with obvious admiration. It's really pretty. Could you teach me how to make one? I would love to. Maybe we could make them later, after we see the animals. Michael watched this exchange with obvious emotion. Sarah had intuitively found the perfect way to connect with his daughter, treating her with respect while engaging her natural curiosity. They spent the morning wandering through the zoo together. Emma proved to be an excellent tour guide, full of facts about the animals and questions about their habitats and behaviors. Sarah found herself genuinely enjoying the little girl's company, impressed by her intelligence and kindness. At the penguin exhibit, Emma slipped her hand into Sarah's without even thinking about it. The simple gesture made Sarah's heart swell with unexpected emotion. When she looked up, she caught Michael watching them with an expression of such tenderness that she felt tears threaten. The penguins are my favorite, Emma announced. Daddy says they mate for life, which means they choose one special penguin to love forever and ever. That's right, Sarah said softly. They take very good care of each other. Like how Daddy took care of Mommy when she was sick. The question hung in the air for a moment. Sarah glanced at Michael, unsure how to respond to such an innocent but profound observation. Yes, sweetheart, Michael said gently, like that. And now we take care of each other, don't we? Emma nodded seriously, then turned to Sarah. Do you think you could help take care of us too? Daddy seems happier when he talks about you. Sarah felt her breath catch. The directness of children never ceased to amaze her. In Emma's simple question, she heard an invitation, a hope, and a trust that felt both precious and overwhelming. I would be honored to be part of taking care of you and your daddy, Sarah said carefully, if that's what you both would like. Emma smiled brightly and squeezed Sarah's hand. I would like that very much. As they continued through the zoo, Sarah felt something shifting inside her chest. She was falling in love, not just with Michael, but with the idea of being part of this small family. She could imagine Sunday morning breakfasts, bedtime stories, scraped knees that needed kissing, and homework that required patient explanation. When they stopped for lunch at the zoo cafe, Emma chatted easily with Sarah about school, her friends, and her favorite books. Sarah pulled out the gift she had brought, and Emma's face lit up when she saw the book about the girl veterinarian. This looks perfect. Will you read it with me sometime? I would love to, Sarah said, meaning it completely. Later that afternoon, after Kate had picked up Emma for a sleepover at her house, Michael and Sarah found themselves alone on a park bench overlooking a small pond. The sun was beginning to set, casting golden light across the water. Thank you, Michael said quietly. For what? For being so wonderful with Emma. For understanding how important she is to me. For making her feel comfortable and special. Sarah turned to face him on the bench. Michael, I need you to know something. I didn't expect this to happen so quickly, but I'm falling in love with both of you. With the man you are, and with the beautiful life you've built with Emma. Michael reached up and gently cupped her face with his hand. Sarah, I've been trying to figure out how to tell you that I'm falling in love with you too. Not just with how you make me feel, but with who you are. Your kindness, your strength, the way you see the world. Emma adores you already, and that means everything to me. When Michael kissed her, soft and tender in the fading light, Sarah felt like all the pieces of her life were finally falling into place. She had spent years caring for others, giving of herself professionally and personally, but always feeling like something was missing from her own life. Now sitting beside this man who had shown her such genuine care and respect, thinking about the bright, wonderful little girl who had already begun to feel like family, Sarah realized that sometimes the best things in life come when you least expect them. Sometimes, a friend's illness leads to exactly where you're supposed to be. Sometimes, saying yes to something that scares you opens the door to everything you didn't know you were looking for. As they walked back to Michael's car, hand in hand, Sarah thought about the wish she had made on the candle at their first dinner. She had wished for the courage to open her heart to whatever possibilities the evening might bring. Looking back now, she realized that her wish had come true in ways she never could have imagined. She had found not just love, but a chance to be part of something bigger than herself. A family that needed her caring nature, and a man who appreciated all the qualities she had to offer. 6 months later, Sarah moved into Michael and Emma's house, bringing her books, her plants, and her gentle presence into their daily routines. The transition felt natural and right, as if she had always been meant to be there. Emma helped her arrange her nursing textbooks on the bookshelf next to Michael's business books, and declared that now their house felt complete. Sarah taught Emma how to make friendship bracelets, how to braid hair in complicated patterns, and how to identify different types of flowers in their garden. Michael proposed on a quiet Sunday morning in their kitchen, while Emma was still asleep upstairs and Sarah was making pancakes. He didn't have a fancy speech prepared or an elaborate setting arranged. He simply looked at her, flipping pancakes in her pajamas with her hair in a messy bun, and realized he couldn't wait another day to ask her to be his wife. "Sarah," he said quietly, "will you marry me? Will you officially become part of our family?" Sarah turned from the stove, spatula still in her hand, and saw the small velvet box in his palm. The ring was simple and beautiful, exactly what she would have chosen for herself. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes, of course, yes." Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway at that exact moment, drawn by the sounds of excitement. When she saw Sarah and Michael hugging, and noticed the ring sparkling on Sarah's finger, she let out a delighted squeal. "Does this mean Sarah is going to be my real mom now?" Sarah knelt down and pulled Emma into their embrace. "I'm going to be your stepmom, which means I'm going to love you and take care of you just like a real mom would. Is that okay with you?" Emma nodded enthusiastically. "I've been hoping for this since the day we went to the zoo. I even made a wish on my birthday candles that you would stay with us forever." As they stood there in their kitchen, the three of them holding each other while pancakes cooled on the counter, Sarah marveled at how perfectly everything had worked out. She had thought she was doing Jessica a favor by going on that blind date. Instead, she had found her future. The wedding was small and intimate, held in the same restaurant where Sarah and Michael had met. Jessica, fully recovered and thrilled to have played matchmaker, served as maid of honor. Emma walked down the aisle as flower girl, scattering rose petals and beaming with pride at her part in the ceremony. In her wedding dress, standing beside Michael as they exchanged vows, Sarah looked out at the faces of their friends and family. She saw her colleagues from the hospital, Michael's business partners, Emma's school friends, and the small group of people who had become their chosen family. When Michael slipped the wedding ring onto her finger, joining the engagement ring he had given her 6 months earlier, Sarah felt the completion of a journey she hadn't even realized she was taking. She had learned that love doesn't always arrive with fanfare and drama. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the form of a friend's emergency, a nervous dinner conversation, and a little girl's innocent trust. "I love you, Thompson," Michael whispered as they shared their first kiss as husband and wife. "I love you too," Sarah whispered back, then looked down at Emma, who was grinning up at them from the front row. "I love both of you, more than I ever thought possible." As they danced to their first song as a married couple, Sarah thought about all the children she had cared for over the years, all the families she had helped heal and comfort. She had always found deep satisfaction in caring for others, but now she understood the joy of being cared for in return. Emma joined them on the dance floor halfway through the song, and they swayed together as a family while the string lights twinkled overhead, just as they had on that first magical night when Sarah had walked nervously into the restaurant and found the rest of her life waiting for her. Sometimes the most beautiful stories begin with the smallest acts of kindness: a friend asking for help, a willingness to say yes to something unknown, a father's desire to find happiness again, a little girl's need for a mother's love. And sometimes, when all those elements come together at exactly the right moment, they create something magical. Something that transforms not just one life but 3 lives, into a family bound together by love, laughter, and the daily miracle of caring for each other. Sarah Martinez Thompson had found her home, her heart, and her happily ever after in the most unexpected way possible. And every day, as she watched Emma grow and flourish, as she built a life with Michael filled with love and partnership, she remembered to be grateful for the twist of fate that had brought them all together. The poor nurse had indeed replaced her friend on a blind date with a lonely single dad CEO. But what happened next had nothing to do with wealth or status or social expectations. It had everything to do with 2 people recognizing something real and precious in each other, and having the courage to build a life around that recognition. And Michael Thompson, true to the promise Sarah had seen in his eyes that very first night, never let her go again.